This is the first of 3 videos which go into the nitty-gritty of editing data in Manager. Even if you're a seasoned Hilltop user, have a gander and you might pick up a thing or two. In this episode I look at editing a measurement and the ins and outs of the grid control. First things first, getting the data to edit. You select your site and measurement on the tree control. The range of data that will be loaded for editing is what is shown on the graph, so you might want to zoom the graph over your area of interest first. And then choose the Data Edit menu item. Or the smarter not harder way is to right-click on your site and measurement of interest in the tree control and pick Edit from the right mouse menu. You can adjust the time range of the data you want to edit here too by clicking the Start of Data, Finish of Data, or All Data buttons where appropriate, or type in these boxes. Quality codes and uncertainty can be included by ticking the checkboxes. If you've got multi-item data, you can choose which item you want to see on the graph in the editor. If you're looking at enough data to write an historical novel, you'll get a message warning that loading all those data points might slow you down. In my humble opinion, things are so speedy these days this won't slow you down, but don't say you weren't warned. The editor has a graph at the top and a grid control at the bottom, and you can adjust the relative size of these panes. In the grid control, there are columns for the date, time and measurement, and, because we asked for it, the uncertainty and quality codes. You can change the time range here too by zooming in on the graph. Once you've zoomed a graph, you can pan across it. Click in the graph pane somewhere to bring attention to it, and then use the right and left arrow keys. You can also move through your zoom sequence by clicking these buttons, or again click in the graph pane somewhere, and then press Page Up, Page Down, or Home to go back to the original time range, or End for your last zoom. The graph and the grid control work together, so zooming the graph adjusts the time range of data in the grid control. When you click at a point on the graph, the grid control will scroll to this measurement, and conversely when you click on a cell in the grid control, this point will be marked on the graph. These 2 red lines indicate the data that you can see in the grid control right now. The grid control works like an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but I'm going to run through the Microsoft-esque type stuff as well as the Hilltop stuff. When you edit data in a cell and press Enter or Tab to leave the cell, the graph updates. Like Excel, you can land in a cell, press F2 and be able to edit a cell without the contents disappearing on you. You can navigate through the data however you fancy. Use the mouse wheel, scroll bars, or page up and page down. The arrow keys move between cells. Home moves to the first cell in a row and End moves to the last. Control Home moves to the first cell in the grid and Control End to the last. You delete a row by clicking on any cell in that row and press Control Delete. Press Control Insert to add a row above the one you clicked on. If there is a gap in the data, it's shown as a blank line in the editor, like the one I've just made. You can reverse any changes with good old undo and redo. Use the usual Ctrl Z and Ctrl Y respectively, or click the toolbar buttons. To select a range of rows, click and drag, or you can click in a cell, hold down Shift and press the arrow keys or page up and page down. It's the usual Ctrl C, Ctrl X and Ctrl V to copy, cut and paste respectively, or use the toolbar buttons. Press Delete to remove the rows in a selection. If you want to select the cells and columns, click this toolbar button or press Ctrl K. K for column because C was already taken. Click a column heading to select the entire column, or you can just select part of a column. There's a right mouse menu if you want to cut or copy an entire column. Click the toolbar button or press Ctrl R to go back to row selection mode. You can paste data in from an Excel spreadsheet, and yes, you can paste multiple columns at a time by clicking in the top left cell of where you want the block to end up. Click here or press Ctrl F for the Find function. You can use this just to search for something, or you can modify text by finding and replacing values. You can do this individually or by carpet bombing the entire grid control. Click here for the Fill function. You can fill all cells in the selection or just those that are currently blank. Click and drag and then press Ctrl D to copy the values from the top cell or row to the rest of the selection. Don't hesitate to try these at home because none of your changes are actually saved until you tell Manager to do so. What's more, Manager remembers everything that you've done, so you can use undo to go back one edit at a time, right back to where you started if you so desire. To save, click either Save button or press Ctrl S. And if you try to leave without saving your changes, you'll be reminded.